say after 9:30 that we would be talking to Erica Emdon, who's the National Director of Pro Bono, this organization, and it's an NGO that has got a One Child a Year campaign that calls on lawyers to take on at least one case involving a child per year without cost. Well, she's on the line now. And Erica, welcome to Power Perspective.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your show, and thank you for having me.
Please tell me a bit more about this One Child a Year campaign that you guys are driving.
Well, about a year ago, I met a certain magistrate in a children's court, in one of the magistrates' courts, and she started telling me about some of the cases that they were seeing in the courts, cases to do with children.
Mm-hmm.
It was a children's court. But they were so upsetting to me, and I'll give you some examples in a minute,
Mm-hmm.
that out of the conversation I had with the magistrate, I decided that one of the projects we should do as ProBono.Org, because we do get lawyers to do work for us pro bono, is to ask lawyers to do a focus on children. And in particular, what I was finding was that children need a lawyer to stay with them for a long time, because very often their cases don't get resolved quickly. And also lawyers need to monitor what happens to them. So out of those conversations and out of the notion that children need long-term representation, we gave birth to this campaign called One Child a Year campaign, where we ask lawyers to take on a case on a pro bono basis,
Mm-hmm.
which means there are no fees to be paid, but they stick with the case with even, just one child or one family, children in one family, and they stick with it for at least as long as it takes to ensure that those children are safe and in a better position. And this can easily take a year, if not more. So that's why we called it One Child a Year, because we wanted to get over the concept that it's long-term.
Mm.
That you can't just go to court once and everything will be fine. That you need to stay with the child's case and make sure that everything stays well.
I'm particularly interested in the examples, because you just said,
Yes.
what kind of cases are we talking about? Just give me one case, one or two cases that we're talking about here.
Okay, well, on the one level, they're criminal cases where children are raped or where they have been abused or assaulted. And it's invariably, I would say 9 times out of 10, by their own members of their own family, especially child rape. And in cases like that, you find that sometimes they don't get prosecuted properly or don't get prosecuted at all, despite the fact that they've been reported to the police.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing happens. And very often the perpetrators remain in this household, or if it's a neighbor, they remain in the neighborhood, in the community. So we had a case where 2 sisters were raped by a member of the family. I think it was an uncle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not being too exact because we have to protect their details.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
two girls were raped by an uncle, and their parents reported this to the police, and nothing happened, and this person remained free in the community. And then a few years later, he raped another child in the family, a 4-year-old boy, but very, very badly. The child was damaged very badly and needing, serious surgery. And now that would be a case where we would sue the police and for not having firstly acted in the first instance, because had the perpetrator been prosecuted in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
then he wouldn't have been free in the community to carry on with that kind of perpetrating the same kind of crime. So in a case like that, you might find a lawyer to take an action against the police for failure, and a damages claim by the parents, also for the injuries and the general damages that they've suffered and the child has suffered. So that would be an example in the criminal law area where the criminal court system...
Yeah. So in that particular case, what you're talking about is you're talking about almost an auxiliary, is like an additional lawyer on top of what would really fall under the NPA, the prosecution arm of the law, or are you talking about after the case, after the fact? So a case has already happened, and then you bring in your lawyer to say, well, justice was not served in that particular case, and then you sue whoever it is that you feel is responsible.
Yes, although in this case there was no case.
Yeah.
The man was not prosecuted. So he was never brought to court. He was never put in jail. There was no action taken, despite the fact that people had laid a charge against him twice. And you see, when the police don't respond at all, and then the perpetrator continues to do exactly what he's done before, the action is against the police for failing to act.
Aha. Okay.
And the second action is against the police for damages.
Yeah.
You know, because the police are meant to respond, and the courts, I mean, I'm not exactly sure who they will sue. They're busy preparing it, whether they sue the Department of Justice and the Department of the SAPS. I think it was the SAPS because they failed to actually prepare the docket. They failed to gather the evidence and to actually send the docket over to the Department of Justice to prosecute. So those are cases where there's a failure on the police or the Department of Justice to act in accordance with the law that they're meant to, because they're meant to actually catch perpetrators and they're meant to bring them to court. So in criminal cases, it's to watch over the police and the Department of Justice to ensure that they do their job properly and to monitor that they follow up on complainants, and especially children, because, you know, the child doesn't necessarily have a voice.
All right, I am in conversation with Erica Emdon, who is the National Director of ProBono.Org. Is that basically the website, www.probono.org?
Yeah, that's org.za.
All right, .org.za. Okay. Yeah. Now, what I also wanting to ask, so what it is, how do you, generally speaking, other than for instance speaking to us in the media, how do you go about trying to get access to all these lawyers in order for them to do this to these cases?
Well, it's quite hard work, but we've been going for 8 years, and we built it up quite slowly. In the beginning, we only had 15 law firms, and now we've got about 200. And we've got the biggest law firms, so we've got thousands of lawyers now who we call upon. And it's taken us a long time to recruit lawyers, but what has helped us is that the law societies have passed rules which require every attorney to do 24 pro bono hours a year, which means that actually there's a compulsion on attorneys to do some pro bono work, and the same with advocates. So because of that, and also because we've used a lot of different ways to get attorneys on board. We hold workshops for them, we bring them together to events, and we send out letters and requests. And as time has gone on, we have built up quite a great support base, not only in Johannesburg, in Durban, and in Limpopo, and now we're starting to work on lawyers in Pretoria. So, it's a gradual process, but we are getting there slowly.
I imagine that ideally what you're looking for really are lawyers who themselves, I mean, out of their own volition, want to do this. Are you finding any kind of resistance? Are there people who are doing pro bono work and really they're thinking, kind of the rules say I have to do 24 hours a year, but I don't really want to be doing this? Or is there overwhelming support for your initiatives?
Well, you raise a very interesting point, because I think it goes to the crux of what pro bono law should be, which actually I believe, and we believe, that it should be something that people do voluntarily, and as you say, out of a feeling of commitment and wanting to contribute to the social good, and feeling that maybe as a lawyer, you've had this incredible education and you've got this huge skill, but maybe you should put something back into society by doing pro bono work. And one wants lawyers to be doing pro bono because of that feeling of wanting to give back, and not just because some law societies told them there's a rule. But and look, I would say that we do have some lawyers who are really only doing it because there's a rule. But I would say the majority of our lawyers really do feel some kind of commitment. And maybe not the first time. Maybe they start off in that to say, we'll do a case kind of half-heartedly and they're not so sure. But they get into it. And you find that over time, you get the same lawyers coming back again and again, and they want to do more of it because they find it very meaningful work. And it's those kind of lawyers that we really prefer to work with. And we try and nurture the relationships with lawyers like that and, keep them, giving them nice cases and giving them a lot of reward for it, recognition. And in fact, this year we're going to have our first award ceremony where we're going to publicly, invite lawyers to come together and we're going to actually give awards. We're going to give out awards for the lawyers who are doing the most pro bono hours.
Yeah.
Publicly to recognize it.
I must confess. I must say this as as we wrap this up my experience, of course, of lawyers is they generally are people who, number one, I think are very busy. Number two, the lawyers I've met are completely swamped under. There's just like the workload is a lot, and I imagine that one of the reasons that you would be on Power Perspective on Power FM right now, having this discussion is that, number one, just you want for people to have an awareness of the work that you are doing, but also just in case that there are lawyers out there who are not participating in any of the, not actively in any case, because I'm pretty certain they can find ways around billing the 24 hours until the end of the year, and they say, well, I have satisfied it. Do you have something that you'd actually like to say to however many lawyers could be possibly listening to this about the importance of what it is that you are trying to do here?
Yes. Oh, I would love the opportunity.
Please do. This is your time, yeah?
Okay, so I think for lawyers, I think we've all done a degree in law, which really is it's a social degree. Doing legal work for somebody or helping somebody with the law is something you're giving back to society, whether you get paid fees for it and you're doing it commercially or you do it pro bono. And the thing about it is we've got a constitution which actually gives people certain rights in this country, but unfortunately not all of them have access to lawyers to help them to realize their rights. And if people can't get legal representation, especially when they're being attacked in any particular way and they need to defend their rights or claim their rights, they have no rights. And I think the legal profession has a duty to assist the poor to actually exercise and claim their rights. And these rights are in many, many areas. It could be people who have problems with consumer issues, consumer law. It could be people who have housing problems. It could be refugees. It could be people who have issues relating to claims from the government in relation to pensions or money. It could be anything, any of the troubles that people who can't afford lawyers have.
Yeah.
And they're generally poor people. And I just think the legal profession owes it to be giving something back. Doctors have to go and do a year of community
service and
exactly.
and all of that. I would love to actually explore this a bit further, Erica, but unfortunately it's 10 o'clock, which means we've run out of time. Thank you very much for talking to us. Hopefully, even if we just get one lawyer to give you a call immediately after this, I think we'll have won.
I would be very happy and thrilled.
All right.
Thank you very, very much for giving me that opportunity.
Thank you very much, Erica.